I have had a very checkered and amazing career journey. This is my third career I am in right now. And all the two careers before this, and all the three careers rather, have absolutely no connection with each other. They have been completely different careers. I trained to become a professor because I come from a family of profs. My mother was a teacher. So everybody in my family had a PhD, and that was the career goal for everybody in the families, and that's exactly what I did. I did my masters, and then I went on to do a PhD in management, and then I became a prof at some of the leading business schools in Mumbai. I was a prof at JBIMS, then I was a prof at SP Jain Institute of Management Studies and Research. And I thought, this is it. I have done, my career goal I have achieved. PhD bhi ho gaya, and then I also have a professor ka job, and I thought this is it. Then what happened was that this was way back in 99 2000, when BPO boom was happening in India. India was becoming the outsourcing capital of the world, and from across the world people were outsourcing their back office work to India, like whether it was call centers, whether it was transcription jobs and insurance back office processing jobs. So multiple jobs were being outsourced to India. And as a prof, we had to do a research paper, and I thought, why not? I mean, this is an interesting opportunity, and I had a PhD in supply chain management. So I thought, why not look at the supply chain side of this digital outsourcing that was happening? And in that context, I started meeting people, started interviewing people, started understanding what was happening, and things like that. And it was amazing, and I was very fascinated by the whole process of outsourcing. Core work and non-core work, and how the organizations abroad were outsourcing non-core work to India, and what was India doing, and how the companies were gearing up to latch up the opportunity and stuff like that. And while doing that, I was sitting with one head of a transcription company in India. And when I was talking to him, and he said, oh my God, we have super ambitious plans. We are going to expand big time. We are going to go into cities like Coimbatore, Chandigarh, Pune, and things like that. And then my hometown is Nagpur, and he didn't mention Nagpur. And I was like, why not Nagpur? It's a big town, a lot of educated people. There's a culture of education. And unfortunately, opportunities were very minimal in those days. I mean, people had to migrate outside Nagpur. So I said, why not Nagpur? And he was like, no, why not? Of course, I would be keen on, but you have to get me a partner there. And very confidently, I told him that, oh, of course, I will get you a partner. He started following up with me, but nobody in my family, as I said, it was a family of profs. Nobody wanted to get into business, and everybody told me that, our blood is red, and we are not blue-blooded. So forget about it. And the CEO started following up with me, and he said, no, you promised me to get a partner, and nothing is happening on that front. Incidentally, at the same time, I was on my maternity leave. And my parents had just moved back to Nagpur from Mumbai. They were all in Mumbai, and they had, after my father's retirement, they moved there. And I was there, and I told my father that, I'm in a big fix. Nobody is ready, and, I don't know what to do. And that's when actually we thought that why not we ourselves start this, take up a franchisee of this large organization and start the business ourselves. I had nothing to lose. I had my professor's job to go back to, and worst, it will be a great experience, and I would have checked the box, that yes, I was being there, done that, and it's not for me. And that's how I started. I already had a daughter who was 2 years, 8 months, and then my son was just born. He was like 1 month old when all these plans were being finalized. And finally, I started the business when he was 3-4 months old. In May, actually, 1st May, we kicked off. And I had 3 months maternity leave. We were not fortunate enough to get 6 months paid leave in those days. So it was like a 3 months leave, which I then went without pay for 3 more months. And then after 6 months, we got a hang of the business. I had no background in transcription. This was a medical transcription. Absolutely no background in medicine, no background in medical transcription. Just, that passion to start something on your own, and passion to provide those opportunities to young boys and girls from my hometown. Within 6 months, we realized that this is a phenomenal opportunity. And I still was very scared to quit my job because, I wanted that plan B in my life. But beyond the point, I realized that, if because there is plan B, probably I'm not giving my 100% to this opportunity. When I have to take that 100% risk, if at all it was a risk. But by then we had realized that it was not that much of a risk. So then I quit my business school job and I became a full-time entrepreneur. And it was what a journey. It was a fabulous journey. Subsequently we also took work directly, and we grew very, very fast. And before we realized, starting with 30 people, we already had about 200 people working for us within first couple of years. There was a lot of interesting incidents that happened, which kind of shaped my personality and which contributed to probably, giving me that confidence that women entrepreneurs can actually do wonders. Because one was, when I would go to get all these approvals in government departments, people were very scared to ask me for a bribe. And then, of course, government of India in those days also came out with no collateral-free loans for women entrepreneurs. So again, it was very useful for me, and I went to the bank and I negotiated a good loan for us because we wanted some loan for the working capital. And so all these, I think, really helped us grow and gave me that confidence that this is a fabulous line for women. And I had my own time. I had two growing up children at home. And I could take care of them. I could take them to my office. My son would sleep in a pram in my office and I would do all my meetings. Being an entrepreneur and being a woman, I could really match up with both the demands. Entrepreneur, the demands that were on me because being an entrepreneur, and as a mother, the demands that were there on me, or the responsibilities, I could easily take care of them. So we wanted to give an opportunity to the dropout kids. And imagine these were like school dropout kids who had dropped out in class 8, 9, boys, girls alike. And they couldn't even speak basic English. And here we were expecting them to work for American medical doctors, understand American English, and also understand some medical terminology. So it was pretty challenging, but we thought, why not? So the 3-month training program, we expanded to 6 months and did a pilot with about 10 boys and girls, about, youth, 5 girls and 5 boys. On the first day of the training program, we realized that we have to start with toilet training because they had never seen a toilet in their life, which was, a big shock for all of us that, especially coming from Mumbai, urban areas and things like that. But the training program was good, and we thought, what was the worst that can happen to us? Worst was maybe they would not become as employable as we think they would, but we would have done a life skill program for them. We can treat it as a life skill program. And this would enhance their confidence. This would probably give them better self-esteem, and this would definitely help them, And we always were believers in journey. That journey was important. Ultimately, destination thought, it'll happen, but journey. So we would have contributed something to their journey called life. That was the thinking. But after 6 months, they surprised us. In fact, they shocked us. They became some of the best employees. They were very, very, they were thanking us for the opportunity. They were indebted to us. They were very passionate. They were they would always realize that, this is an opportunity I would use 100% to further my career, improve the life of myself, my siblings, my family. By 2010, we already had about 150 such dropout youths working for us. And we kind of were 50% rural BPO and 50% urban BPO. And the whole process humbled all of us founders. It had a phenomenal humbling impact on all of us, because somewhere we realized that we are, only one opportunity is enough to move people from poverty to, to a good life, to a better life. Only that opportunity and that belief that yes, they can do it, that is good enough. And honestly, every time those boys or girls would bring a box of sweets to me saying that I just bought a bike, or I just repaired my house, or I've become a role model for my people in the village, I honestly would cry silently and thank God for giving me an opportunity to make so much difference to people's lives. And then in 2010, actually, we got an opportunity to sell the business to the largest BPO in the world. They wanted to buy us out, and it was a win-win-win situation for everybody, because for the employees, it was like, instead of working for a family, they would be working for a MNC. For me personally, a lot of things had changed in my personal life. My son who was just born was 10. My daughter who was 2.5 was 12 and a half. So for me, spending a lot of time in Nagpur had become very, very challenging, very difficult. My father, who had just retired, had also grown old by 10 more years. So for us also, we thought it is a phenomenal opportunity. So why not do the negotiation and sell the business? So that's what we did. And as I said, I had by then decided that I want to spend the rest of my life in the development sector. And I also mentioned that we were firm believers in the journey. I started a not-for-profit organization called Raha Foundation. Raha is journey in Hindi. So because that was the belief that we were in. And Raha Foundation was started in 2011, and I'm so happy that we are completing 10 years of existence on 30th of January. Like in next week, we are completing 10 years of our existence. So we started this journey in 2010, and by the time we got all the compliances were met and we got all the approvals like ATG, 12A of the world, it was like almost 2013-14. We started, and I was also the firm believer in entrepreneurship, the power of entrepreneurship. And by then I had a great background, as in I had a PhD in management, and I had a 10 years of entrepreneurship experience. So I thought, why not club the two and create women entrepreneurs, help women become entrepreneurs. And I started this program in the slums of Mumbai, started working with the self-help groups and help them convert to become entrepreneurs. Like from Bachat Gat to Utpadak Gat. That was a journey that I was covering, and I trained over 500 women to become micro entrepreneurs from the slums of Mumbai. And subsequently I realized that this model can work without me. So then I took a batch of young girls and trained them to become trainers. And I'm so happy that that program is still going on successfully in the slums of Mumbai, the program that I had designed so passionately. A chance visit to the tribal areas, we realized that we have to become a tribal organization working for the indigenous community, because there was immense need for somebody like us to work there who would take that entrepreneurial approach to tribal development, create that holistic transformation model. And my co-founder, who's also my husband, also has a very, very strong background. He's from IIT Bombay and I am Ahmedabad. So, both of our backgrounds were very, very management and corporate experience. So we thought we should take that approach to transformation. And that was, so in 2014, we became a tribal focused organization. And today we take an integrated approach to tribal development. We work on multiple core pillars because water underpins all social problems. So all our intervention starts with water. So we work on water, agriculture, women empowerment. Of course, entrepreneurship is very close to my heart. Then we work on environment, we work on health, malnourishment, eradication, and climate change, of course, because that is something we have to work on. All of us are committed to mitigating climate change. So that is something that we are definitely doing. So that is what we do. And I'm so happy to tell you that in last 6 years, less than 6 years, we have built about 120 wells. We have built about 40 different dams, making 45 tribal villages 100% water secure. As in, earlier, if the woman was spending 5 to 6 hours fetching water, walking for miles in search of water, now the water is available right inside her village. So she finishes that chore in just less than 15 minutes. So we have been able to provide that change in that woman's life. And now, because she has time, we then work with her to create micro businesses for her. Because water is available, year-round farming has become a possibility. And over 1,200 farmers have stopped migrating because of our intervention, and they do full-time farming. And we are now in the process of creating a entrepreneurship entity for the farmers to enable them to sell directly. So, being entrepreneurs, we are trying to create as many entrepreneurs as possible so that they get good value for their produce, and they can lead a life of dignity and life of confidence in their own villages without having to migrate to work on construction sites. So then the entrepreneur in me, of course, did not allow me to sleep peacefully after seeing this. I started a separate entity called Raha Creative Design, which is an affiliate social business that provides market linkages to the tribal art products. So currently I'm running this hybrid model where Raha Foundation addresses all the social problems. and Ra Creative Designs provides market linkages, and that's a for-profit social business. And Ra Foundation is a for-purpose organization that addresses all the social problems. So that is my journey so far. So I think being woman is the biggest gift I would say God has given me. God has made me a woman, and that is a phenomenal thing because we are very natural in a lot of things. Like for example, multitasking comes very naturally to all of us, and being a woman leader or being a woman entrepreneur, the biggest skill that you need is multitasking. So nobody had to teach me that. As I was mentioning that I would nurse my son and then immediately within minutes get into a meeting. So I could manage multiple fronts and probably cook at home and then come to work. So multiple fronts we have to manage. So I think that comes very naturally to us. So I think women should definitely go the entrepreneurship way. There is no question. So a lot of skills that entrepreneur needs come very naturally to us. The second is patience. When we give birth to children, we learn so much patience, and dealing with children. Oh my God! Even if they grow up, we still need a lot of patience with them. So I think that again. So any journey, whether it is an entrepreneurial journey, whether it is journey in the development sector, like for example. Our Ra Foundation is very impact driven and outcome focused. And for me, the outcome and impact is that change when I see that in the beneficiary. But it requires a lot of patience. And I think that again, as I said, it comes very naturally to us women. Working in development sector is again an awesome opportunity for women because, as I said, it comes very naturally to us. I think third is people trust us very easily. It is very easy to trust a woman, especially in the development sector. When we go to communities, when we start talking to them, people open up to us very easily, especially women open up to us. And much of the problems, women are much more aware of the problems that they are facing. It is very easy to get the best out of a woman from a woman. When I go to tribal areas and I start talking to women, a lot of solutions actually come from this conversation. They arise from this conversation, and that is only possible because women open up in front of me. So one message that I would definitely like to give to my fellow women and fellow girls, young girls who are starting their life journey now, is that keep entrepreneurship an option in front of you, with you always, because that's something that we should pursue. Become a job creator rather than a job seeker, because you are awesome. Women are awesome. And we can do wonders, and there is nothing that we cannot do, and go for it.